Now then, people, and welcome back to the midweek fix. It is myself and LUFC. Lucy, how are you doing, Lucy? All right?
I'm good, thanks. Are you? Yeah.
Yeah, good. We might have to start renaming you the Oracle because the last two results, two times we've done this, you've got each score right?
I have, yeah. I should have put some money on it.
Money on you. You'll do it this weekend and you'll get it completely wrong.
Yeah.
Let's hope so anyway, because I've got a sneaky suspicion you might not predict a Leeds win, and then but we'll have to wait and see. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But talk to me about Norwich, Luce. Obviously, we got 3 points. That was all that mattered. But how was the game for you?
It was scrappy, wasn't it? I think the first 2 minutes, the ref appeared to let the game flow quite a lot, and then that was it. Then he just didn't let anything lie, did he? And kind of ruined the game. I think it kind of turned the game a little bit. It was quite poor, but it was a scrappy game. I saw some of the stats in terms of like aerial duels. It suggested that that is just what the majority of the game was. I think it was like, did they win 68 to us 58 or something like that? And it was just constantly in the air. And I think it was the formation. I don't know about you, but I think again, it's just not particularly working. I feel like we're just playing without a centre forward. There were no corners for us, no offsides for us, which shows again.
Is that in the full 90 minutes?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that kind of shows what kind of game it actually was.
Yeah.
And I think it's gone from being like a top of the table championship scrap to a very like below average bottom of the league Premier League scrap, hasn't it? It was just quite dire.
It definitely had shades of a championship game, don't you think?
Yeah. 1,000%. And as I was watching it, I thought that's why I cannot go back there.
I was just going to say, yeah, these people that say, oh, you know, because of the away fans or whatever, and it's like, oh, everyone's tourists now, Premiership's rubbish, I can't stand it, yada, yada, yada. Like, what you see on the pitch is what matters to me, and you can be beat by teams, and it's just turgid and horrible, and I agree with you. I felt the game itself was just like that. It was minging. I thought it was really minging, and I thought, you know, I do think had Dan James scored that chance when it got cleared off the line, and I said this during the game, that if we score first and within the first 15, 20 minutes, we'll run away with it. We have the, you know, the capability to do it, but as it turned out, it wasn't the case, and it just got worse and worse. I think really, it was bad, wasn't it?
It was, and they tried to press, and we tried to play through their press. And like you say, it was very championship-esque. That's how a lot of teams used to play against us. I feel like Preston used to play a little bit like that against us, and teams that were similar. And yeah, it was very like the performance against Southampton, and then that worried me a little bit.
Yeah,
but I think it's because they didn't allow us to play how we naturally play.
Do you think, Luce, because I said this at the time as well, I said to the people that were watching the watch along, I said, if they score first, we're done. Like, I genuinely had that sort of feel to me that if they were to go in front, it'd have been one, like you say, like Southampton, it'd have been like Wigan, it'd have been just, it really was one of them games where I was thinking, as it continued, oh God, you know, like this isn't good. And then are you worried? Because if you think, look at what teams have done to Norwich, let's be honest, they have an opportunity for me to go down with the lowest points total. Genuinely, I think they might beat Derby's record. So to struggle,
record.
Yeah, to struggle against that side, does it give you alarm bells, or are you still thinking, oh, we've got players out, we'll be all right?
No, because I think typically we do struggle against weaker sides, and I think we do excel against better sides. And I saw a lot of people say, "Oh God, if this had been a decent side, they would have annihilated us." But it would have been a different game if it had been a decent side. Like when we play against Man City, home and away, I think they were two of our best performances last year. I think when you have a more quality opponent, we kind of step up a notch and each team allows each other to play. Whereas when you get these kind of teams like Norwich, it was always going to be that kind of unpretty kind of football. So it doesn't bother me as such. No.
It does me. I can't lie. It does me. I was like, oh my God, this is Norwich we're playing, man. What's going down? But, the 3 points was all that matters. I think my main concern, Lucy, was if we were to lose that game or draw, then a gap starts to be created between the bottom 3, Burnley, and those above, like your Southamptons, etc., picked up points, and you're thinking, and Villa are down there, Brentford are coming down, and obviously Palace won. And I just think I look at teams like Villa and Brentford, I think they will, I think Villa will definitely stay up. Brentford, I think, will stay up and they will get wins. And I was thinking, if we don't get a positive result here, there's a gap created, and I cannot be dealing with us banking on other teams getting results in order for us to catch them, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you have to be in control. And I was very nervous going into the game, given Saturday's results. It was quite terrifying. And after the game on Sunday, I said that for me was just like a game changer in terms of the table. If we'd have lost that, I think that would have been a huge blow. Equally, because we've got points on the board, I think that's going to be such an important set of 3 points when we look back later in the season. Because like you said, the gap is slowly starting to form, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
And you want it to be in your own hands. Like you say,
that's what I mean. You could, if it's not in your hand, you could get a great result against City, but then the other teams above you don't drop points, and then it's like, well, that doesn't count for anything now. Do you know what I mean? So that's the one thing. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of chat about Leeds United, relegation battle, all that sort of stuff. They're in a scrap, etc. I believe we are in a scrap, but there's been a lot of Leeds fans this week peddling. I say peddling, is that the right word? But trying to stay positive. And I am very positive. I try to be, but I can't. My eyes don't lie to me. I can only go on what I see on the pitch, and it's not been great. But last 6 games, we're 8th in the form table. So there's a lot of people saying, well, we're actually 8, we're doing really well. Like, where do you stand on that? Because I'll let you, where do you stand?
It's a tough one. Going back to like Wolves and their form, at that point now seems massive because of what form they're in. And obviously the top teams dropped points over the weekend. And I think again in this league, a result can go either way. And kind of going into Sunday this week, I'm not massively optimistic, but there's still that hope there that you can get a result. I don't pay that much attention to the form table. So yeah, I just think it's taking it week by week for us at the moment. I think we have to set up different against Leicester, but I can't see it changing, to be honest.
I know. I think, we have to, we're waiting on hearing about the likes of Bamford and Ayling, aren't we? I think what's been quite huge for me, Lucy, is I know he didn't start the season well, but Luke Ayling is pivotal to what we do, I think, down that right-hand side. I found that when Cody Drameh comes on, we're seeing more of what we're used to with Bill. But Jamie Shackleton, and we were speaking about this last week, I think other people are starting to realise that actually, yes, Jamie Shackleton's full of endeavour. He runs for 90 minutes. He'll give it his all. But in that position, we do lose something, because I think when Drameh comes on, he's doing the overlaps. He's trying to get round Rafinha. He's trying to get involved in the attacks. And it's not saying that Jamie doesn't, but when he does, he's always cutting back, or he's looking for a backwards pass as opposed to getting to the byline, getting a ball in. So if we can have, Bill Ayling back, Patrick Bamford, I think, like you say, my confidence going into games would be much more than where it currently is.
Oh, massively. In terms of attacking, like going back to Sunday with the fact there were like no offsides. There's no one to kind of run in behind the ball like Bamford does, or like you say, Ayling kind of bombing forward. We just miss that massively, don't we, in those kind of two areas of the park. So it would be key, wouldn't it, getting those two back? But yeah, as I say, Shackleton playing slightly out of position. I just don't think it's his area of expertise whatsoever. Like you say, it's always the backwards pass, isn't it?
Yeah, and if that's the case, do you think, and I know people won't agree with me, but I think it's worth just having the chat now. Do you think then that his time at Leeds, if Bielsa was to stick around, may come to an end at some point? Because the fact that we have a crisis in midfield, and we've wanted a midfielder now for 2 seasons, you could say. We tried to sign Cuisance, we tried to sign Gallagher, we tried to sign O'Brien. You know, the club know that we need a centre midfielder. And we've only ever really seen Jamie Shackleton in there a handful of times. So if Bill Ayling comes back and Cody Drameh continues to impress, then he's third choice right back for me. And he's not getting a look in at centre midfield. So what happens with him?
Yeah, I think you're definitely right with would somebody else come in and persist with him. I think the answer is no. I think Bielsa has his favourites. I think he sees a lot in him, but I can't see how he would be a first choice or even a second choice in a Premier League side. I think somebody else coming in would be looking for other options to bring other people in, perhaps. I just don't see where he fits, and it's really sad to say, but I don't know where
I know what you mean.
I don't know where he fits in with the plans. If you were strengthening, and like Radrizzani's come out this week saying he's plans for the future and aiming for top 6 and Champions League, you don't see. I personally don't see a Jamie Shackleton in that kind of setup going forward.
Who do you see in our current setup who could play at that level, do you think?
What, in terms of who we have?
Yeah.
Or I know who I'd like to
who
have, but who we have. I don't know. I think that response says it all, that I don't think we have got not to progress. I feel like we've got as far as we could go with this side.
And I think it's great to have that conversation, Luce, because I think, myself included, a lot of us all got carried away with last season.
Yeah, you did, especially.
You
were off on your European tour.
I was, mate. I was. Like, I can't lie. Like, had we have not lost to Brighton, it could have come a reality, and then this season has a totally different look because you're spending more money, etc. But wasn't the case. We now didn't have a good window, so we've got things wrong off the pitch, which has then translated to on the pitch for me, and it's really, I guess, shown us where we're at as a team. And I think this season it's not going to be enjoyable. Do I think we'll go down? No. I think we'll be all right. But in terms of looking forward to games, etc., it's not got the same vibe as it did last season. And we weren't even going there last season, but I was still excited. Do you know what I mean? This season, it's like, oh, I've got Leicester, and it's going to be tough. Do you know what I mean?
And you're like, we've got a break. We've got afterwards. I know what you mean.
Do you think we found our level with this current crop of players?
Yeah, and I think, again, from the article I've read with Radrizzani, it sounds like, I think his words were kind of staying up and then kicking on from the summer. So to me, that sounds like, have they recuperated some money that can be spent and invested? He's already said how much he's invested in the squad. And I think that's got to be the more viable approach. He's looking elsewhere and adding quality to the team. Yeah.
Because it's severely lacking at the minute. I think just on Norwich, obviously, Rafinha impressed, which is just a given.
Standard.
I thought Pascal was really good. He was integral to both goals. I thought he played really well. And Armand Forshaw. Let's talk about Adam Forshaw. He came on, and I seen it in the chat. Adam Forshaw, what? And he came in, and we had a midfield again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's true. Again, I think there was a stat as soon as he came on that I think Norwich only completed 2 passes goal side once sort of after Forshaw had come on. I think he made, I can't remember how many challenges it was or tackles, but it was on a par with the most in the game, and he was only on for 15 minutes. So yeah, it just says volumes. I think he was involved in key passes as well again, and I'll always sing his praises every week. I think it's getting more and more apparent with every game that he's involved in.
Did you go back to them people who tweeted you like, I told you so? Yeah.
Yeah, because he's just a bit of a scapegoat, I think, because he's been such out of the picture for such a long time. People don't really see the credentials that he's got, but no, it's massive when he came on.
And I think Radrazani's tweet hasn't helped, because that's put more pressure on him and made people think that, oh, is he the Messiah? Is he the second coming? You know what I mean, kind of thing. And
people have jumped on the bandwagon a bit, haven't they? And
we have a lot of new fans because we're in the Premier League that are, you know, social media and, you know, want you to be signing, I don't know, Messi's and stuff, you know, and it's just not viable, is it? You know what I mean? So I think that also, when we look at social media, because we've had this conversation before, it's a really minuscule amount of fans, but you get into this thing that's the general consensus amongst everyone when you go to Welham Road, and some people are like, what's Twitter? Do you know what I mean? So it is what it is. So talk to me. Were you impressed by Strauch? Do you think he played well? He seems to be getting better in that midfield role, and then he was on the back three. He was all over, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he's quite strong. He's solid. He's had to definitely grow into that role. I think he's looked quite rusty. And I think I've said before, I think he prefers having the whole game in front of him, probably being at centre back. But I think he's kind of growing in confidence in that role. And then obviously having Phillips alongside, I think he completed the most passes, Phillips, again in that game.
What did you make to Phillips?
Still not his best.
Yeah.
I still don't think there was a few
wayward
passes.
I know people won't like me saying that, but I thought he was pretty rubbish loose.
Yeah, there were a few loose balls because you could hear the ironic cheers from the Norwich fans, because I think fans get on his back now, like, oh, he's meant to be the great England international. So I think people are quick to kind of jump on him. So yeah, no, I can see Bielsa's theory in not rushing him back like he did, because people are like, oh, I'd rather have a half-fit Phillips
in the ground, especially, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's a guy in front of me, shout out John if he watches. I don't know if he does, but if he does, and he turned around to me and said, like, at half time, he went, if he's fit enough to be on the bench, he's fit enough to be on the pitch. Get him on the pitch. And at the time, you're thinking, no, it makes sense, But after seeing him, Arsenal, and at the weekend, you're like, it's a good job he didn't, because he's been a bit all over, hasn't
he? Yeah, a little bit ropey, I would say. Still, you know, sensational.
Still
but
amazing,
for him, standard, you can see how there's like a niggle there. I think that's the case for a lot of the key players. Like, I think Harrison got a lot of stick. It's because we just expect so much because of last season in particular. So I don't think anyone had an incredible game. I don't think anybody stands out as such.
We got a few questions, and just because this one's related to the Norwich one. So I just want to ask you this. This is Richard Storms on Twitter. He says, why do you think Geldart didn't get any game time on Sunday? I've seen a lot of people ask this, and obviously Forshaw gets brought on, Tyler Roberts gets brought on. I was saying during, because I had on the watch along at half time, get Geldart on, take James off his rubbish. But I think it's a lot to ask a 19-year-old lad to come on in that type of game and play a number of positions. And this is what's important to remember, I think, when with Bielsa's system, Dan James and Jack Harrison were interchanging. They were also playing at left back. They were playing in midfield. They were playing up front. And I think for me, Geldart would have been a bit like, what? And I think just because of how tight the game was, I think the substitutions were right, because Tyler, regardless of what you think of Tyler knows what he's doing in the Bielsa system. Okay, his quality's not quite there, but he's always stood in the right spaces. He's doing the right pressing. And it's same with the likes of James and Harrison. I know James has only been here a short while, but he's like a Duracell bunny and his energy's insane. So do you go along with that, or would you have been like, well, no, we should have used Geldart in this game?
No, I do understand where you're coming from, and again, everyone kind of jumps on Tyler, but he made quite a key pass. I think it was like in the 88th minute to Raf, and with Geldart, he's more of a poacher, but he can create as well. And I just don't know if it was the right game. As I said, I think we were just dropping quite deep. It would have been a lot to ask to kind of bomb forward. Like, he's more of a Bamford style player. And I think we were already up at that point, and the game slowed down. It was nice to watch the game slow down. We took control more in that last sort of 5 minutes or so. I don't think we needed the urgency. I always think back to that game against Cardiff with the 3-3. That's always that game for me where you're always constantly on the attack, getting another goal from somewhere, and it just didn't need it. I think we just needed to take control. You could see the switch in quality where ours prevailed a little bit more over theirs. It slowed down, and I don't think we needed a Geldart to necessarily go and, perhaps chase a game and then lose possession and get caught out. Maybe if we were chasing the goal like we were against Wolves, perhaps maybe bring him up.
It's all about keeping our system and that at that time, I felt. And I'm not for 1 second saying that Geldart won't be able to do them things. He probably will, but it's a lot to ask him to come in that game and do what a James or a Harrison does. And yes, their outputs at the minute aren't great, although James got his first assist. They still know where they need to be, and systems are so important. And everyone needs to know what they're doing, because we've seen in the early parts of the season, Firpo at times didn't know what he was doing, and Bielsa's took him off the pitch. Do you know what I mean? So I think there's a lot in that. I remember that Cardiff game well. I wasn't actually at the game. I was in Portugal with my partner for a birthday, and I'd said during the week on the preview 3-0, and it was 3-0 at half time, and I was like, listen, we got it, man. I told you all. And then I found out later on, we conceded 3. It was brutal.
I love the story of the man who got on the plane to America, and he was like, 3-0, and then he got off, and he said, I can't believe it was 3-3 when he turned his phone back on.
Proper Leeds that game was, wasn't it? It was brutal. Right. That's Norwich. Let's have a little chat about Leicester City. Obviously, we're unaware at the moment if Bamford or Ayling will be involved, but I've got a sneaky suspicion the fact that Calvin didn't come straight back and Firpo we're not seeing off. I think he'll give them the international break to get back to full speed. So I expect a similar sort of lineup. So how does that make you feel going into Leicester? Because they've been a bit all over, but they're still a top quality side.
Oh, of course, and I think it's going to be dependent on, because they play tomorrow, don't they? In the Europa, so it's going to be interesting to see if get any knocks or what happens there. But they're obviously going to probably play 2 up front again, Vardy, Iheanacho, and that's what concerns me the most, is having that 3 at the back.
3-3-1-3.
So it's just quite worrying. It's such a massive game. For me, in our family, we're all Leeds fans, apart from one uncle who is a big Leicester City fan, season ticket holder. So he always seems to have the upper hand, and that's why I'm never confident, because they always do well. Apart from last year, an amazing game and that great Bamford goal. But
it was quite. It was 4-1 at our place, weren't it? And then we beat them 3-1 at their place.
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
both like really good games, I guess.
Yeah.
But I genuinely, going into this, like you've mentioned, I think that Vardy will be, rested midweek so that he's fit for Sunday. And either him or Iheanacho, and listen, I'm a big fan of Cooper, you know this, but he never does well with pace. And I think someone like Vardy, just peeling off Cooper, and then we've to talk about Tielemans, because if Leeds United play like we did against Norwich, or as we have done this season without a midfield, Tielemans is just going to run the show.
Oh, rip
Do you know what
it
I
up,
mean?
isn't he? Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. And you mentioned Cooper there, and for me, I think he had quite a poor game against Norwich. When you said pace, I thought he looked very slow. He was kind of slow getting to corners. I think he really struggled. I think it's just, I don't know, my eyes are opened more and more when I watch him against certain, and like you say, if you just up against the likes of their quality, it is concerning.
Massively. And like, I had a look at the next 5 games. Someone asked me, actually, I was on a Leicester preview yesterday, and because of where I'm at currently, it's like, okay, we've got Leicester City, Spurs after the international break. Now that Conte's in there, they'll be a
Oh
totally
God.
different side. Oh my
Yeah,
God! Like,
I
Kane
know
will
that
probably
was.
score a hat trick. We've then got Brighton. We never do well against Brighton.
No.
Crystal Palace, Conor Gallagher's
Yeah.
bound to score. And then we've got Brentford. And I look at them 5, and I was asked how many points do we get? And I was like, 7. And even that was like, do you know what I mean? That's a lot, yeah.
Well, that's it. There's never any easy games in this league.
But if you think back to last season, I'd have looked at them and I'd have gone, 12. Yes. Do you know what I mean? Oh,
Yeah.
God.
No, it is like you say, with the Spurs appointment, that was my first thought. I was like, great, they're gonna be like revived.
Yeah.
Palace, we kind of got caught out a little bit against them. I won on my birthday actually against them last year. That was quite a good game, but away at their place, it was the stupid VAR ruling on
Paddy
Bamford's like
pointing on it.
his fingernail.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, it can just be fine margins like that can just cost so much.
Because
But
after
on
that, it's then
paper,
December. And December,
yeah,
we've got
it's
like
horrible.
City, Arsenal, Chelsea, the lot of them. We've got the lot of them all in
Yeah,
one month. It's going to be a rough Christmas, I think. It's going to be a
it
rough
is.
Christmas.
We've got, well, I think Burnley over the new year, so that might be where we can redeem ourselves at home
Maybe.
slightly, maybe. But yeah, it's.
Talk to me about the weekend then. How do you see the game going? Do we get some points loose?
Oh God, you see, I'm getting all the predictions correct, but I just don't know. I don't know. It needs to change. The formation just is not. There was no width. I didn't feel like there was much width. But at the same time, there's no one in the middle of the park. I just feel like we're playing with like a less player on the pitch, it seems at times. And so, like you said, if we're getting Paddy or Bill back in, then it changes things. If not, I think we're going to have to play out of our skin. The pace is going to be totally different from last week as well. I think there'll be goals for both sides. I don't know what to commit to saying at the moment.
It's like you make a great point though. Like Josh Sargent and Pookie were rubbish. We're now going up against Iheanacho and Vardy, or Patson Daka, or Sumeri, Tielemans, all these players. Harvey Barnes. Look what Harvey Barnes did to us in the Championship that time.
Oh, I know.
Maddison. There's so many that if we're not on our A game, then we could get beaten, and beaten well. So I agree. I think for Leeds United, especially this season, our players need to play to their full capability in order to get results in these sorts of games. So go on then, Luce. I'm going to ask you to stick your neck out and give us a result for the weekend.
Yeah, so I think it might be 2-1 to them, where we kind of, I don't know, put in a performance and then their quality edges it and they kind of nick something at the end and we'll all go home feeling like we've been robbed. I don't know. I've just got like an inkling and I keep being right at the moment, which frightens me.
I tend to go along with you. I do think we might lose the game 2-1 as well, which is so hard for me because
You're
really
the
hard at the
optimistic
minute.
one.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. Like, I see like people's comments and that go, well, if you're negative, we're knackered. That's why I was quite surprised to see so many people peddling the old we're 8th in the form table stuff, because I'm like, I don't mean shit, man. We've been rubbish. And the teams we've played, Watford and Norwich, our only 2 wins, are garbage. They're really bad. And then the other point, what is it against Wolves, is a great point. And I suppose we only lost to West Ham. I don't know. I'm talking myself round here.
Justifying it.
Yeah, there's a lot riding on Friday. If Bamford and Ayling are fit, but I just don't think they will be, and I don't think it would be in our best interest long term to rush them back either.
And like you say, even if they are available, I don't think he'd just throw them in straight away.
No, I'm going to go 2-1 Leicester as well, which kills me. But with that in mind, if we get a positive result or a point, I'd take a point, Lewis. I'd take a point.
Oh, yeah, all day long. Yeah, I'd take a similar game and result to the Wolves one. Again, we've just said that was an amazing point. So I
And the
would
crowd and the
definitely.
atmosphere was class.
Yeah,
Best it's
it
been
will.
this season.
Yeah, I think we need to tap into that again, don't we?
Yes,
That kind of
for sure.
energy. I think if the chips are down, everybody needs to be like, right, should we just recreate what we did at Wolves and
I think
spur the team on?
I think the thing is with Leeds at the minute, like, if we can get a goal early, Loose, then that'll settle everyone down and we might start playing that nice free-flowing football that we're used to. But at the minute, because we're not, and then the games are going into the, dying embers, and it's like, oh, this is turgid. It's horrible to watch. Like, this is what I think we've been spoiled as Leeds fans under Bielsa, watching amazing football, and now we're just not at that same level. So naturally, naturally, it's just not as good as it once were. But listen, we both got 2-1 in Leicester in that game, which is rock hard. People will be spewing in the comments. Let us know your score predictions in the comments. What we're going to do now is go to some listener questions. We've had a few come in, so we'll do them. Cohen on Twitter, LUFC Cohen asks, what's your thoughts on the younger generation of Leeds fans not taking to Bielsa and wanting him out?
I don't know. Is that a thing? Is that younger people? Is that their way of thinking?
I think it's the Twitter generation, maybe.
Yeah, because I've seen people of all ages. I think it's just frustration, isn't it? And I don't know if it's that expectation of you're in the Premier League, you want to establish yourself. I think you've said before, it's that like FIFA generation, like can do better, get somebody else in. But who are you gonna get? And like Norwich are on about potentially sacking him. I always think, well, who are they gonna get? Like, who's gonna
do
any better?
Look at Newcastle. Newcastle are the richest club in the world, and they still ain't got a manager. They've got managers turning them down. And Emery apparently has turned them down.
Yeah, he has.
They'll end up with Big Sam till the end of the season then. I'll get Brucey back. Get Brucey back.
One of them will recruit Big Sam, no doubt, at some point.
For sure. I think so too. Chatting Leeds, Charlie says, when Bamford and Ayling are back, do our performances instantly change, or will it take some time to click? So if they're not back at the weekend, say they're back for Tottenham, obviously we think we're going to lose that game anyway, but do we think as a team we'll improve with them two back in the side?
I think the word instantly. Perhaps I think we'll see a difference. As I say, I
Yeah.
think up front that is where we're lacking. So
Yes.
just again, any kind of percentage of Bamford's fitness is welcome in that area of the
Yeah.
park. I
Yeah.
think we'll see a slight improvement, but again, they're going to have to gel again, aren't they, in terms of
Yeah.
service? But yeah, it's going to be a big addition if they can just slot back in.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What
Yeah.
I will say, like this season, at the start of the season, I was saying Luke Ayling, he's not been at it. Now I'll never do that again because I can see now he's out of the side just how much he gives us. Like he had one of the highest progressive runs in the whole of Europe, not just in the Premier League, not just in Yorkshire, we're
Wow.
talking Europe. And him coming out of the side, yes, he didn't start well, but he still gives us so much more with opposed to anything else we've got, unless Cody Drama gets game time, which we don't think he'll get a lot of really.
No.
So I think we'll see an improvement at that side. And I think what Bamford does as well is he occupies defenders. At the minute, we've got no one occupying defenders. If you, even at the start of the season, when we played Everton, for example, Yerry Mina and Bamford battled all game for the full
Yeah.
90 minutes because centre-backs are aware now of what Bamford can bring. Last season, he was a surprise package. This season, they're like, okay, we can even go to the Burnley game where I think James Tarkowski had a go at him as well. Centre-backs they're targeting Bamford because they know what he can bring. His movement's exceptional. So, okay, he might not be getting as much space as he did last season, but he's occupying centre-backs, which then brings in Rafinha, then brings in maybe Click behind or Rodrigo. So I think just like you said, having him stood on the pitch just gives us an advantage straight away.
Yeah, massively. Like I say, he runs in behind the ball.
Yeah.
That's what we're lacking. There's no one to just lay off because, as Bielsa used to say, he isn't just the only one to score goals. It's what he can create for others around him, and that's what we've missed probably more than anything in Bamford. Yeah.
For sure. Tom Griffin asks, when is Bamford back? We don't know, do we? We wish we knew. We're not ITK. Yeah. But I think Friday we'll know more, won't we? I think if he doesn't play the weekend, which we don't think, I'd imagine he'll be back for Tottenham, which is going to be a baptism of fire against Antonio Conte's side. So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. Billy Meps on Twitter says, do you think we'll sign anyone in the January window?
I don't know about if we will. I've got people in mind that I would love to sign. I have my own little shopping list of players.
Tell us, because he's asked who.
So there's Jonathan David who plays for Lille. He scored a penalty.
We were linked to him before, right?
Yeah, I think he's been on Arsenal's radar. He would be the most expensive choice. So he's going to be like your sort of Bamford type role again, running in behind the ball. He finishes for fun. He takes penalties, assists. I think he's in like 2021, playing in the Champions League. So he got the penalty last night. He scored against PSG. But yeah, you're looking at like your 30 million mark, which I don't know if he's going to be more of like a summer type transfer. A cheaper option, I would say, that John Swift from Reading.
Yeah, for sure.
Just somebody like that, where it's just like, is it 8 goals?
He's been great for seasons as John Swift, man.
Yeah,
I just think it's great.
And then a random one for Wolfsburg, Max Arnold. Such a Bielsa type pressing player, high energy, hard working. I think he turned down Bayern Munich because he wanted regular game time, and I think he'd fit in. But this is all just wishful window shopping.
Well, that's great.
This is all. But when you think coming to January, I just think from the comments that Rads has said, I don't know. you just always link to Vidra every
Yeah.
round week or something like
Do you know
that.
what? And I think John Swift's a great shout. Genuinely, I
Yeah.
think he's within our price range. Could we move back for Lewis O'Brien? I
Yeah.
think two interesting ones for me are from Norwich, and it would be Todd Cantwell
Yeah,
because
that's one
he's
people say
fallen
a
out with
lot.
Daniel Farker. They're
Yeah.
not speaking, apparently. He's not even at training, so he's sat at home. You know, why don't we loan with a view to permanent in the summer? There's also Billy Gilmore, Champions
Yeah.
League winner with Chelsea, goes there. He's
Yeah.
not getting game time. Say to Chelsea, take him back and we'll take him. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? For me, if we can't sign anyone, we need at least loans. We need at
We
least
need
loans. Like,
something.
yeah,
Yeah, because even
Chelsea,
like
man, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, just anyone. I know people have mentioned Barkley, but Chelsea have enough players there for us to go, loan us one of them, will you? Do you know what I mean?
I just think like we know currently we have no depth in squad, and
Yeah,
like the young lads last night, it kind of proves my theory that they were playing against like men in a men's game against Salford, and we just need to build on what we've got. I don't
yeah,
think we can rely on just solely
yeah.
bringing in under 23s into the squad.
No, I agree.
So I would love to sign somebody, like you say, even if it's just some loans. But I just can't. I can't see it. I feel like we're going
We'll
to
have
make
to,
do.
though, I
I know
feel
they're
like we
going to
have
have
to get a
to, and
midfielder.
he's going to get a lot of stick if
If he
him and
doesn't,
Orr
yeah.
don't kind of get something together. But I just don't know. I've got a feeling that the plan is to make do, to live in hope that injuries will resolve themselves by then, and to stay up and then to push on in the summer. That's kind of where I think our head is at.
I agree with you, and I think the club are saying, like, if we can stay up second season, then you sort of solidify yourself in the Premier League, I think, a little bit, and then you've got that extra year's money, and it's like, right, now we can spend a bit like Villa did, you know, a bit like Villa have done. I know they're not doing great at the minute, but they won't go down, and they had that, you know, they nearly went down, didn't they, on the last day with the goal line technology, and then they stayed up, and now look, you know, so it's all about just staying in the Premier League for a couple of seasons, and then you can push on. And I think Phil Hayes on record as saying that Leeds are expecting to go bigger next summer. So hopefully that does become a reality. But we never do well in January. Jean-Kevin Augustin.
I know. I was so excited about Big Kev.
Same, mate.
And it just
wow,
all
what
went
signing
horribly
that was.
wrong.
It was, it wasn't great. Bit of a fun one. Mayor39 Mayor on YouTube says, please do a tour of the inside of the fecking net. Maybe show how lovely the ball looks in the back of the net, and send it to this useless shower we call professional players. So, do you fancy doing a vlog of what a goal net looks like?
What are we becoming, like Ben Foster or something?
Yeah,
Vlogging.
Yeah, brilliant, isn't it?
I don't know.
I know. Sean says, I know it's a little bit of a negative spin, Joe, but an honest opinion on whether we think Click, Dallas and Harrison have hit a ceiling. I think Click definitely has, but I'm starting to worry about Dallas and Jackie too.
Yeah, so obviously it's all come out, hasn't it, about Dallas now.
Yes.
Obviously he's been carrying, well, essentially grief, hasn't it? And we
That'd be
always
rock
knew
hard
there
as
was
well, Luce, wouldn't
something.
it?
Yeah, and we knew there was something they kind of said, and
Yeah.
when he didn't play for Northern Ireland due to personal reasons, it's all making sense. So I don't know why. Obviously they didn't say it then, and they've come out and said it now. I don't know if he felt maybe a weight lifted. I don't know whether he might have been feeling the pressure a little bit. So now that's alleviated, maybe he might come into his own a bit more now with Dallas. Harrison, he got slated massively on Sunday. I didn't see the need for the massive meltdown myself. Obviously he's not at the height of his game, but
no,
I am still a big Harrison fan. Like that first touch still like doesn't let him down.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried there. Click, I think we've mentioned, haven't we, where it hurts to feel like
Yes,
we're at the
yeah.
end of the road with Click, but
Mm.
I don't know what it is. Obviously, we've got that song about him, but I feel like he's only got one type of shot in him,
Yeah, I
which
know
is
what you
just
mean. That
that sort
finesse
of,
shot.
yeah, that he did
Yeah,
against Borough that time, and
yeah.
it's just not always paying off, is it? And
No.
we don't seem to get any power behind the ball, and that goes for anybody. Nobody
Mm.
puts power behind a shot, and I just don't understand. And before a game when they're on the
Just
pitch,
like kick it hard, kick
well,
it
no, I know that,
harder.
and that's such like a girl comment, that isn't it? Kick the ball hard. But you know, like before a game,
Harder,
you watch
harder. Like.
when you watch them warm up, some of them have got a right shot in
Yeah, for
them, and
sure.
then it
Yeah.
just doesn't like they don't portray that on the
No.
pitch. It's just, yeah, I don't know what it is. It's just there's a lot going on, a lot of injuries. I
Mm.
think it's having a mental impact on a lot of
Yeah.
players. And we just need to get the gang back together and all is well.
100%.
Yeah.
I think I agree with you there. I think we both. I think we have come to the realization that Click is definitely on the slide, but I think we need to give Dallas and Harrison a little bit more time before we make that judgment. I think because, like you say, Dallas has obviously been carrying this grief. Childhood friend passed, and suddenly that's going to take its toll on him. And the fact that he's only just now got that out to us,
Yeah.
he'll start to feel better, hopefully, on the back of that. And then, like you said, Jack Harrison apparently is carrying a knock anyway, as it is. Do you know what I mean? So we have to wait till everyone's fully fighting fit. And I think that'll happen after the international break. So hopefully, I don't know. It's horrible because I'm like thinking, yeah, international break, that's where we'll start our season. But I'm thinking if we lose to Leicester, we have 2 weeks of absolute grief. And then the first game back, Spurs and Conte, and he'd have had 2 weeks of just beasting them on the training pitch. And they'll be Son and Kane will be just like they were last season,
Last
just like,
time, yeah.
yeah. And then we'll be like, oh my days. And then we've got Brighton, and we know what Potter's like. And then Crystal Palace and Brentford become must wins again. And it's like, I can't deal with the pressure. Like, I cannot wait till this season's over and we're only 10 games in. Do you know what I mean?
I know, and it's so
Yeah.
awful going into a break on a defeat because it was
Yes.
so nice winning against Watford and like
Yeah.
having a break and kind of just sitting on the victory, thinking, yeah, we're great, and I didn't have any stress for 2 weeks. But like you
And then
say, if there's a
Southampton.
yeah, but like you say, if there's a defeat, and then
Yeah.
you like just sort of like trying to console yourself for a fortnight, and then you've got Spurs to face.
Seeing like
It's
clips of Harry Kane and Son in training laughing and that, like, oh, they're back. Oh, no. No.
the duo are back. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Because
I'm hoping it's not going to be that straightforward. I hope they're just the same as they are at
yeah,
the
well, if
moment.
anyone can ruin it, it's Spurs. If anyone can ruin Conte and his record and winning titles and stuff, then it'll be them. So hopefully it goes tits up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
cool. Anything you want to leave us with, Luce? Any little? We should have like a little thing. It's Lucy's Lucy's little bit of
Words
advice.
of wisdom.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Anything?
I just hope I'm wrong
Yes.
about the result. And that we're sat here next week thinking, oh yeah, we've got a fortnight of just sitting on a win
Yeah.
and like it's just a bonus against Spurs. Like
Yeah.
I just want to be in that position, but we can hope. You never know, and you never
You
know
never
how it
know. You
goes.
never know. You're right, and that's what where we're at this moment in time. Hopefully, Sunday we'll be coming home from the games bouncing because we've beaten Leicester at home, and the crowd was amazing and all that sort of stuff. But we'll have to wait and see. But thank you, as always, everyone, for watching the Midweek Fix with myself and Lucy. We're really enjoying putting this together. Please smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, follow Lucy on Twitter, Still not done her on YouTube yet, but it's coming. I can feel it.
Because
And
people complain about my camera, but this is just an old laptop that I borrow. Like, I work on a computer all day at work. I just can't bear to be on a computer at home, so I don't own one. If
the
somebody
camera's totally
wants to buy
fine.
if somebody wants to buy me a
fine.
camera or computer, I'll set up a GoFundMe page.
Honestly, it all looks crisp. It all looks clean. So thank you very much, Lucy. And thank you to everyone who's watched. Smash a like on your way out, and we'll see you next week. Peace.